Welcome back, crew. It's January, so that means we are diving into Paizo's amazing Pathfinder 2e system. Today, we're going to be looking at one of the areas I think they really excelled or knocked it out of the park, their Game Master Guide. If you're coming from 5e, I know a lot of people skim or don't read it. There's some great resources within the DMG, but the Game Master's Guide, in my opinion, puts it to shame. And that's not to bash on 5e. I love the system, but going through this, there's just so much in there for the Game Master to be able to use. And it's kind of pluck and use right out of the box, and I have to homebrew and tweak and spend time really modifying it. You could just say, hey, this looks cool, let's do it. And so we're going to be going through a couple of the highlights I saw from the GMG, but know that there could be videos on each of these things we're touching on. And cool thing is, I think I mentioned this before in other videos, but we are going to be making Pathfinder 2e kind of one of my home systems. I'm switching my weekly D&D game over to Pathfinder 2e next month. So you'll definitely see more actual plays, hopefully, but more videos and more things breaking down the 2e system, especially coming from a D&D 5e perspective. So stay tuned for that. But big news for today, if you're watching this live, we are holding our actual play of the Pathfinder 2e system tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're coming through live, make sure you join us tonight on my channel, Tegan J Gaming at twitch.com, link down in the description, and come through and get to see us play this amazing system out. We'll be breaking down some of the rules as we go, as well as raffling off a $25 gift certificate to the Paizo store. Typically, we raffle off a PDF of the core rulebook, but with the Paizo store, it's a little bit easier to do the gift card. So you'll have $25, which is nice. So if you already have the core rulebook, go buy something else, like an advanced core rulebook or player's rulebook or Secrets of Magic. They've got so much cool Pathfinder 2e stuff, or even Starfinder if you're caught up on the Pathfinder side. So make sure to come through, support the crew, and get a chance to win. But let's dive into it. So really, highly recommend if you're playing Pathfinder 2e. I recommend for any system that offers a Game Master's Guide to read it, but this one is just so cool. It has so many directly useful features with it that I think it's just one you can't pass up. So we're going to just touch on a couple of my favorites. There's really a lot more that can go in here, but just some things I think stood out to me. So of course, they've got rules to build creatures. Nice thing with this, I'm just kind of highlighting at a high level, is they really break it down and let you know how to understand it, and really kind of go over each of the pieces within, so you know kind of their philosophy on building monsters, and you can make sure that when you build one, it's in that kind of correct range of experience and needs to be challenging for your party. So really go through those. It's a great guide. And if you followed me from Dungeons & Masters and a little bit on this channel too, you know I love making monsters. I didn't make my own for the actual play. I'm still not super confident in the system yet, in my knowledge of the system, I should say, yet, but it's definitely something I'm going to be doing down the line. Monster making is one of my favorite things to do for a game. So I've read through it. I've got some ideas perking up. So stay tuned for the channel for more of this, but this is really cool. They go through all the different pieces, the different ability modifiers, scales, where you should put the perception at, how you should structure their skills, and items to include with them. It's just really well done. It's intricate. It's not something you just found them adding and passing or kind of leaving it up to you to fill in the blanks. They've kind of done the homework and they've made it easily accessible. So major shout out to them on that. Last thing I want to do for this side is the hazards, because this is sick. This is just a really, I like the hazard systems in general, between the simple ones, or may just be usual traps or haunts, and the complex ones, there's a counter on their own. Spoiler alert, my players are going to be going through a complex hazard. I've got way too much planned in this 3-hour one-shot, but it should be fun. This is just really, I love what they've done with this. They give you how to put it into the right level, the defenses, the different ways they should be able to go through and solve and resolve them, and even the damage and the DCs that you should have at the level to make it challenging but fair, which is just really cool, because and not picking off 5e, but to call out 5e a little bit, I've had to you have to improvise a lot. You have to kind of go, it seems good, that seems like it should be fair, and after a while, you get kind of good judgment with it, but it is a lot to learn at first, and a lot of times you're just throwing it at the wall and saying, Did that seem fair and fun? Where with the Pathfinder 2e system, it's really calculated. They've done their work and they've given it to you in a level, like an easy to understand way that you can quickly roll out without having to spend hours planning for your game. So shout outs to the hazard section. Go through that if you haven't. Like they've got some really sweet stuff. And then like the single, like the simple hazards are pretty cool, but the complex ones, I think it's where it's at. Like there's just really fun things you can do with that. So that's a hazard section. There'll be a whole video on that coming up soon because it's just really cool in my opinion. Other big thing that I saw, and this is just all in chapter 2, the GM tools. The last big thing I will say, or two big things I'll say, as I liked how they had the afflictions. They've got some cool curses. They don't even have like, because this is something I've always wanted to do for my world. They've got like drugs brewed into the system for you, so you can. Drugs and addiction mechanics brewed into the system to give you the tools to create your own drugs too, which I think is cool. I think it adds like a level of flavor. It gives players some of the chances where they could trade a little bit extra oomph or somewhere for that crippling addiction that may come along with it. So that's cool. I like that they have that built-in base. And then otherwise, they have like curses, diseases, and just cool ways to make them interesting, flavorful, and fair, which is really another thing too. And the nice thing is, it's a detailed section. Like it's not just a few pages, which you'll probably hear me say a lot because I think that's just really noteworthy for me coming from 5e. So outside of that too, they give a lot of cool tips for world building, and not just like tips. Like they give like how to build like a settlement and give you like different stats on that. How to build a nation with different like a stat block. How to build different planes of existence and go through and give them certain quirks and features. Like just really in-depth stuff that could really help out like a lot of newer game masters. And that's I think one of the I hope one of the good things to come from the OGL crisis is I feel like starting with Pathfinder 2e may be a little bit easier for a lot of GMs because a lot of us started, myself included. First my game was 5e. I played before 3.5, but 5e was the first time I put in the GM seat, and it's a lot of like guessing. It's a lot of kind of discovering on your own, which is still going to be the path for any game master. But I think this guide does a lot to give you tools and resources that you can build off of without having to kind of swim in the deep end on your own. So really cool on that side. So those were kind of some of the cool GM tools. There's more stuff in here. This is just stuff that stood out to me. They've got different ways to build items, relics, intelligent items, gems, artwork, all building magic items. It's just so in-depth on that side. We could really spend like 3 or 4 whole episodes just going over the tools they've got in there. And we may come back to it eventually too. But moving from tools, one of the areas I really liked is the subsystems they have included in the GMG. With the subsystems, it's like different things you can tack onto your game to allow you to add something cool to it. So with this, we're going to cover 3 of my favorites on there. There's more stuff like they've got victory points on how to like kind of rule how certain battles and things like that play to your character's overall goal for the campaign. They've got different ways to hone researches, but 3 of the big ones we're going to touch on are the ones I usually see coming up for 5e DMs or even other system DMs. Who are like, how do we run this? My favorite, they've got really cool rules for chases. So if you wanted to run a chase, but you didn't want to have to like kind of homebrew your own thing, I've done that before. And I know the DMG has rules for chases as well, but I feel like this is a little bit more fleshed out. They give you different things to do to build obstacle, different types of chases, shortcuts, just different ways to really make it stand out and make it easier on your part to run. They give you like a whole bunch of traps for different types of settings. Just really neat stuff that will hopefully take stuff, the work off of your plate and still make for a fun game. So chases are a big one. Influence too. One of the things I've seen like on Reddit and just overall in my time in the 5e system is people having questions on how to handle the social aspects, which Pathfinder 2e on base level does it really well with. But if you wanted to have like a straight up social encounter, tack on the influence system. It goes over how to build like an influence stat block too, with kind of things that may be weaknesses to them and more weaknesses like in their character and how to maybe manipulate them a little bit or things that their kind of goals and backgrounds and all of that. It's just a really in-depth way to handle it. It gives you different ways where you get points and how to handle, like how to kind of manipulate the situation, how your players can interact with this, how to set the DCs and all of that. There's gonna be a video on this one because this is one I think is like I'm not sure if it's overlooked in the Pathfinder 2e community, but this is one of those ones. Even if you want to stick with playing 5e, you could bring this over and port it over and have it run pretty well as a good system to use for kind of intrigue campaigns, or if you've got like a situation where the players need to make a solid point or win people over to their side. I think this would be the golden system to use for it. So last two on this one, because there's literally a ton we could talk about, but infiltration is one of the ones I thought was really cool. I wish it would fit in the one shot I was running tonight, but literally, as I said, there's too much in this one shot for tonight. But this is another cool one. This is one I'm looking forward to utilize because I've never felt like I've run infiltration the best way in any of my games, whether it be 5e, Aliens, Blade. Blade's a little bit easier, but a lot of other systems I've used for infiltration, I don't feel like I've done the best method for it. And with this, it gives you just different ways to do it and different ways you can throw obstacles at both the individual players as well as the team as a whole and have them overcome it. And just kind of different ways to have them, because sometimes infiltration goes down to one stealth roll and the guards are alert, and now you have to kind of figure it out. But this gives different ways to have the failures move things forward. It gives you different like obstacles too, and some samples like guard posts, traps, locked doors, and the level of difficulty that should go along with them. So just really cool, great system. I need to read more on this myself, but just I think it's the one that just gives a lot of tools to the game master to be able to roll out if they want to do an infiltration one, and even kind of something you can do it on the fly a little bit too. All right, last cool thing I'll put in here too is a duel system. I like this. This is something Star Wars 5e has, but I think I like how they have it set up here too. And the cool thing with this too is they have it set up between like martial duels, which would be like swords at dawn, but they also have spellcasting duels, which I thought was pretty sick. Because a lot of times, like, when you want to have like an arcane magic show off, you've got the tools right here to be able to run it. So really cool on that side. Recommend checking it out, especially if you got one at the moment you want to be more cinematic. Run these and kind of give them a go with your table. So those are the GM subsystems. Really, each of these could be its own video, so stay tuned. Infiltration, chases, and influence for sure are going to be doing videos later in the channel, because it's just really cool mechanics, and I think even if you're not playing Pathfinder 2e, could be useful just to have in your GM hat to be able to run and pull influence and resources from. So now that we're moving out of subsystems, we're moving into the variant rules that they've got for their system and kind of how to choose them. They've got a really cool walkthrough how to choose the different variant rules, which we're not going to get into. We're just going to get into a couple of the ones that I found that I was pretty happy to see, and the ones I'll be implementing when I get my full campaign running. The first one, and these ones, I think, and for sure on these ones, go through and read the descriptions. They give you different tips and tools for how to apply them to your game too. So make sure that you read those. Make sure you read how they choose them, because these are going to change some of the equations and some of the, a lot of them give more power to the players or change how they gain their power. So you want to make sure you know kind of what you're adding in and that you're not unbalancing your game. Well, luckily all of these though are kind of tested and tried by Paizo and Pathfinder, so it's not going to be anything that crazily overbalances it, but just be aware that you're adding a new variable to the system. So, cool thing with this, I like the gradual ability boost. I wouldn't recommend the point buy system, just kind of seeing how Pathfinder does it. I think the system they have in place works best, at least for me. But the gradual ability boosts are cool. Basically what this is doing is it's spacing out your ability boosts rather than gaining like the 4 new ones at level 5. You'd gain them 2, 3, 4, and etc. So you gain one ability boost each of those levels up till 5 that you can apply to your PC. It's really cool on that side. Same rules apply, so you couldn't like throw them all into strength or all in dexterity. You just have to kind of match them up like you would if you were getting them at level 5. But I think it gives you something to do each level, and it doesn't make just kind of one big block where you have a huge jump in power. But this is another one that'll make it a little bit more powerful. So I like it. I think I'm going to apply it on my table, but definitely one you want to think about. So another cool one. So I'm going to be running free archetype, Pathfinder 2e has a lot of cool archetypes. One of the big things with Pathfinder is you've got a lot of choices, and I want to give my players more opportunities to get to pick some of those choices. So free archetype allows you to pick an archetype for your character. It could be a multi-class archetype. It could be one of the other ones where you can go through and you get to, each time you gain a class feat, you get to gain a feat in your archetype as well. It gives more build variety, lets you kind of fulfill your character ambitions right away, or a little bit easier, not right away, easier, I should say, and just kind of gives more tools. It does make your players a little bit more strong, but they give some different tips for playing with these archetypes and how it's going to run the game. So that's a cool one. The last one I'm going to be running for sure is the Paragon Ancestries. So it gives you, I'm going to be modifying this one. I'm going to be toning it down. This one, like, it gives you a lot of ancestry feats before you only get them at like first, fifth, and so on levels. I'm not sure. I'm going to tweak this one a little bit because it gives you ones that like every even level, I believe, or odd level. So I'm going to tweak it down a little bit. But it definitely, I love giving my players options. I love giving them the chances to kind of just have the build they want to and give some challenging combat to reflect that. So this would be one I'm running so they get to have that full ancestry image they want and get all the cool different features there, or at least have more selections of all the cool different features they want. So those are a couple of the variant rules. Last one I'm going to shout out, because this is something I've seen picked up steam lately in the community. I've never run it myself. But they have like a whole rule system, official rule system for running a level 0 character, how to handle it if you want to go in like the martial or the spellcasting classes. It's just really cool. So I may run it sometime, but it's one of the things I've seen getting more popular on Reddit and Twitter. And here's like a tried, tested by the company rule set to do so, and you could easily port it into your game. But yeah, so those are just a quick look at the Game Master's Guide. I know I'm probably sounding like I'm repeating myself, but go read it if you're playing the system. But even if you're not playing the system, check it out. There's just some stuff that's generally useful for a Game Master. So go through, give it a read, and see kind of what you can pull from it and bring into your game. But make sure to join us if you're watching this live tonight, 7 p.m. for our Game of the Month, Pathfinder 2e, the actual play, and your chance to win a gift card to the Paizo store. And then if you're new to the channel, each month we pick a different game of the month to run and go through how to build a PC, how to kind of run the mechanics of the system. And something like this one, which we did, was each time we find something unique for the system. I thought the Game Master Guide was super unique for the Pathfinder 2e system and how useful and well laid out it is. So I wanted to give it a shout out. Yeah, each month we do that with a different tabletop RPG. So like, subscribe, and join us as you will see the wider world of different games and RPGs in the space. But thank you guys for watching, and until next time.